I'm Unger to the Max, coming at you with today's episode of the SportsRoom Talk. I'm not in my usual recording studio, as you can see. Instead, I am here at the All Sports Cleveland studio at the Ohio Media School. So, enough with all that type of stuff. Let's get down to business. If you've been following my channel for a while, which if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you punch that subscribe button like a UFC fighter. Right now, right as you're watching this video, subscribe to the channel. I want to get to 500 subscribers before the start of the 2022 NFL season, which is Thursday, September 8th, when the Buffalo Bills take on the Los Angeles Rams at SoFi Stadium in a possible preview of Super Bowl 57. Of course, the Rams will be raising their Super Bowl 56 championship banner in the same stadium where they won Super Bowl 56. Because if you remember, the Rams defeated the Cincinnati Bengals. I believe the final score was 23-20 at SoFi Stadium. So that puts a ton of pressure on the Los Angeles Chargers this season because already the Chargers are in a bad spot. LA is a Rams town when it comes to football. You can't deny that. So, if the Chargers want to stay relevant, they need to have a deep playoff run this season. They need to show, hey, Los Angeles, we're here too. They need to show that. It can't just be another, we start out strong, and then you have what happened to the Chargers against the Raiders in that fantastic Sunday night football game to close out the regular season, where the Raiders were literally saying, hey, we're playing for the tie because we know both of us get into the playoffs and Pittsburgh stays out. But Brandon Staley got overly aggressive. He called a timeout, and the Raiders said, you're going to play that game? All right, well then, Pittsburgh, we'll let you win the playoffs. Chargers, you're one of our biggest rivals. Go away. Go over there. So, now that little soliloquy, or whatever you want to call it, is out of the way, let's get down to it. So, you know, if you've been following my channel for a while, that I love analyzing team schedules. Doesn't matter if it's the NBA, if it's an NBA schedule, NHL schedule, NFL schedule, MLB schedule, any schedule, I am going to look at it and analyze it. Like, I'm going to look at specifically the road trips. Does this road trip make sense? How does that make sense? Like, for example, looking at Major League Baseball. Let's say the Cleveland Guardians do a road trip where it's at Minnesota, okay? At Seattle, and then at Kansas City. Well, that kind of makes sense, but the way I would have done it is at Minnesota, then at Kansas City, and then I would have done at Oakland, and then up to Seattle. So it would have been a little bit more. But anyway, so on that note with Major League Baseball, something interesting is happening this week with the Cleveland Guardians. Over the weekend, they just finished up a 4-game series with the Chicago White Sox at Guaranteed Rate Field on the south side of Chicago. Now, this wasn't a traditional 4-game series where it's 4 games in 4 days. Instead, it was a 4-game series where you play it in 3 days. Why? Well, it's because the Guardians and White Sox played a doubleheader. I believe that was on Saturday. So, the Guardians and White Sox would end up splitting that 4-game series. Well, starting last night, the Guardians traveled to Boston, Massachusetts to play a 4-game series at Fenway Park, a traditional 4-game series, against the Boston Red Sox. Now, I don't know about you, but I find that fascinating that the Guardians played the Chicago White Sox, and now they're playing the Boston Red Sox. Let me know in the comments, how rare is it, or how often, I should say, does it happen that a team plays at the White Sox and then plays at the Red Sox? So, as I said, this is a traditional 4-game series against the Red Sox for the Guardians. They lost last night 3-1. Tonight is Game 2 of that series. Let me look at the pitching matchup. It is Brian Shaw against Winkowski. So, in other words, Cleveland is doing a bullpen game. So, they're probably going to lose. But I find that fascinating, that the Guardians are doing at the Chicago White Sox and then at the Boston Red Sox. They'll finish up this road trip by playing 3 down in Tampa, in St. Petersburg against the Tampa Bay Rays. And then they'll come home for a 7-game homestand. Home against Arizona, and then home against Houston. It's a 3-game series against Arizona, and then a 4-game series against the Houston Asterisks. I am looking into going into the 4th game of the series against Houston on Sunday, August 7th. If I do end up going to that game, I will upload some content from there onto the channel, but I don't want to make any promises. It's just something I'm looking into. So again, no promises, but I am looking into going to next Sunday's game against the Houston Asterisks. Staying on the topic of schedules and whatnot, the NBA schedule has not yet been released. But as a diehard Cleveland Cavaliers fan, I am eagerly anticipating the schedule getting released. Why? Well, it's because I want to know when we play certain teams. I want to know when we play Philadelphia. In my opinion, the 76ers are the Cavs' new and biggest rival. I actually made a whole video about it. I'll put a link to that video in the description of this video. So I want to know when we play the 76ers. I want to know when we play the Atlanta Hawks, because they're another team you could consider to be a rival for the Cavaliers, as they prevented us from going to the actual playoffs thanks to our loss on the first day of Passover in the 8-9 play-in tournament game, which would have matched us up in the first round with the Miami Heat, who were the number 1 seed last season. Granted, I don't think we would have beaten Miami, but I think we could have given them a bit of a challenge. I also want to know when we play Toronto, because Toronto was one of the teams the Cavaliers were trying to chase down in the standings to avoid the play-in tournament and get into the actual playoffs. I want to know when we play the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls took 3 out of 4 games against us last season, and they were another team that the Cavs were trying to chase down in the standings to try and get into the actual playoffs and avoid the play-in tournament. I want to know when we play the 2021 NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks. We won 3 out of 4 games against the Bucks last season. So, I want to keep that success going. I want to know when we play the Memphis Grizzlies. We are a very similar team to Memphis, I think. 2 teams are on very similar parallels. I think it would be fascinating, actually, if Memphis and Cleveland were not only in the Eastern Conference, but in the same division, because that would mean 4 games against each other. 2 at FedEx Forum in Memphis, Tennessee, and 2 here in downtown Cleveland at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. I'll get to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse a little bit later in today's show. But I also want to know when we play the Minnesota Timberwolves. They've kind of taken the same approach as us, because they made the trade for They didn't trade for Karl Anthony Towns. No, they traded for Rudy Gobert to pair with Karl Anthony Towns. So they've gone with the same approach we have of doing the Twin Towers. So I want to see how that dynamic works. I think it would be fascinating if Minnesota and the Cavaliers were in the same division. I mean, there's speculation that Seattle and Las Vegas are getting NBA teams in 2024, so maybe Memphis and Minnesota moving to the Eastern Conference is possible. Maybe we do see them, each team, more than twice a season. But generally, the NBA schedule gets released in mid-August, I want to say. Usually, I would say between August 16th and August 25th, somewhere in that ballpark. And the Cavaliers only got one nationally televised game during the regular season last year, and that was a late March game against the Toronto Raptors. Now, I know we didn't make the actual playoffs, but I think the Cavaliers will get a few more nationally televised games. I'm hoping some of those nationally televised games are against Philadelphia, Toronto, Boston, Atlanta, and Milwaukee. I think we should get at least one nationally televised game against each of them. Whether that's at home or on the road, to be determined. But the teams I especially want to see the Cavs play in a nationally televised game are Philadelphia, Toronto, and Chicago. Those three. I think if the NBA does not schedule the Cavs against the 76ers, Cavs against Raptors, Cavs against Bulls, at least once on ESPN, TNT, ABC, whatever, they're making a huge mistake. Because I really do think that even though the Eastern Conference has gotten better, the Cavs can make the playoffs. I really believe that. Because, again, you have the uncertainty with the Brooklyn Nets. Is Kevin Durant still going to be there when the season starts in late October? Is Kyrie Irving still going to be there in late October when the season starts? Who knows? I don't know if I can fully trust Philadelphia for that matter. Like, they got eliminated in round 2 by the Miami Heat. Granted, again, Miami was the number 1 seed, but Miami wasn't really a legitimate number 1 seed, I don't think. You could even make a case that neither team that ended up with the number 1 spot, Phoenix and Miami. You could make a case that neither one of them, were legit number 1 seeds. I mean, you saw how badly Dallas destroyed Phoenix in Game 7 of their second round series. And I know Miami pushed Boston to a Game 7 and Miami almost won said Game 7. But did anybody really think Miami had a legitimate chance of winning that series? I didn't. I thought Boston was going to win that series. I didn't think it was going to go. I didn't actually think it was going to go 7 games. Again, I didn't think Miami was a legit number 1 seed. I would have guessed Boston in 5, actually. So, but it didn't turn out that way. Oh well. Not every analyst or media member, fan, whatever, gets their prediction right 100% of the time. Hey, I predicted Cincinnati to go all the way to the Super Bowl and win it. At least I think I did. I'd have to go back and check. Either way, I got that part right. I predicted Cincinnati to go all the way to the Super Bowl. But they ended up losing. So, the Browns opened their season against the Carolina Panthers. Actually, I'll just go through the entire schedule with you, because maybe I haven't done this yet. So, give me a sec. So, the Browns' schedule looks like this. Week 1 at Carolina. So that could be the Browns facing Baker Mayfield. Depends on what happens with training camp and all that. Week 2, home against the New York Jets. Shout out to my guy Gangrene David. Big time New York Jets fan. Week 3, Thursday night football against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steel Twins, Cold Steel. Love you guys. Can't wait to work with you for that game. Week 4 at Atlanta. Sports Live in the ATL. Looking forward to working with you again. Hopefully this time we can actually do a video collaboration instead of a phone call. But that's what we had to do last time. Not a big deal. Week 5, home against the Chargers. Still looking for a Chargers fan to work with. Week 6, home against the Patriots. Most likely, Boston Sports Report and I will be working together for that game. Week 7 at Baltimore. Engraven Vids. I am coming for you. Week 8 against the Cincinnati Bengals. You already know who I'm working with in that game, so don't need to worry about it. Miami Dolphins. I'm working on trying to find a Dolphins fan to work with. I'm talking to a couple. Buffalo Bills in Week 11. Trying to find a Bills fan. Week 12 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Trying to find a Buccaneers fan to work with. Week 13 at the Houston Texans. Sauce Sports. That's easy. Week 14 against the Bengals. You know who I'm working with. I don't need to say. Week 15, home against the Ravens. Engraven Vids. Again, I am coming for you. Week 16, home against the New Orleans Saints. I am still looking for a Saints fan to work with. Week 17, at the Washington Commanders. I have a couple Washington fans in mind. Week 18, at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steel Twins. Cold Steel. I'm coming for you. So, yes, I am going to reinstitute my goal to do a video collaboration for every game on the Browns schedule. The last couple seasons I've tried to accomplish that. I haven't been able to do so because of outside reasons, primarily medical stuff. So, hopefully, no more medical interferences, no more outside interferences, and I can get this goal done. But even if I achieve this goal this season, I want to keep trying to do it beyond. So in 2023, when we play the NFC West, I got to try and find a Rams fan and a 49ers fan. Because I already know who I'm working with for the Seattle Seahawks. Norbcam. When the Browns come to Seattle, you and I are working together, my guy. Arizona Cardinals, AZ Sports Fan. We've worked together. I want to work with you again, my dude. Let's see. 2024, that's going to be the NFC East. So that's going to be the Dallas Cowboys. JTuck151. Or I think his YouTube channel now is called Cowboys Fans Only. I know he's going to want revenge on me after we beat him and the Cowboys. I believe that was 2020. Had to have been 2020 because last year we played the NFC North, and that was the 2021 season. And the way it goes with us is NFC East, NFC North, NFC South, NFC West. So yeah, 2024, we will be playing the NFC East. So for Philly 500, Cowboys fans only. I already know who I'm working with for Washington. Gotta find a Giants fan. NFC North in 2025. Gotta find a Green Bay Packers fan. Minnesota Vikings, man, 28. You and I are working together when the Browns and Vikings play each other in 2025. Detroit, I have a couple people in mind for that. And, who else is in that division? Detroit, Green Bay. need to find a Packers fan. Oh, and Chicago. Windy City. We did a video collaboration together for week 3 in 2021. So, we're going to be working together again in 2025. So, that's going to be coming. I can't give you an exact time, an exact date of when those video collaborations are going to be happening. That depends on if I'm going to be going on another person's show or if they're coming on here to Unger to the Max in the SportsRoom Talk. Then it depends on their schedule and when we can make it work. I want to give you a definitive time, but I just can't do that. I apologize. Anyway, so I'm looking at the Guardians' schedule, going back to that. And they've had some interesting road trips this season. As I said, right now they are doing they're doing an 11-game road trip. 4 at Chicago, 4 at Boston, 3 at Tampa. Again, it's at Chicago White Sox, at Boston Red Sox, at Tampa Bay Rays. But throughout the season, I'm not going to give you every road trip the Guardians have done, just some of the interesting ones. Like, at the end of April, the Guardians did this road trip. At the New York Yankees, and then at the Los Angeles Angels, although they really should be called the Anaheim Angels because they play in Anaheim. Because, think about this, they're called the Anaheim Ducks. They're not called the Los Angeles Ducks of Anaheim, or just the Los Angeles Ducks. No, they are called the Anaheim Ducks. So, Angels, follow the Ducks' logic and just call yourselves the Anaheim Angels. Anyway, so the Guardians did at the Yankees, at the Angels, and then at the Oakland Athletics. And then at the end of May, the Guardians were at Houston and then up to Detroit. Let's see. In the middle of June, they did at Colorado, at the Dodgers, and then at Minnesota. And then they only have a couple more road trips remaining. August, they have at Detroit and then at Toronto. That road trip makes sense. And then towards the end of August, they have at San Diego, at Seattle. Okay, that makes sense, because they already played the Angels and Athletics. But to close out the season in late September, they have at Chicago, as in, again, the White Sox, and then at the Texas Rangers. Why not do, like, at Chicago, at Kansas City, and then at Texas? Something like that. And then here's the other interesting thing. To close out the season, the Guardians have 3 against the Tampa Bay Rays, but then 6 games against the Kansas City Royals. A 6-game series. And it's not like a couple doubleheaders are in there. No. It's 6 consecutive games. See? 1, 2. Look. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like that. So, as of right now, when I'm recording this, at 14:14 on Tuesday, July 26th, the Guardians sit in 3rd place in the Central Division, 4 games behind the 1st place Minnesota Twins. Or I'm sorry, my bad, excuse me. The Guardians are in 2nd place. I was looking at the Chicago White Sox. The Guardians are in 2nd place in the division behind the Minnesota Twins. Cleveland is 48-47, so they are a game over 500. They are 3.5 games back of the Minnesota Twins. Twins are 52-44. In the wild card, Guardians are 3 games back. The 3 wildcard spots are currently held by the Toronto Blue Jays, Tampa Bay Rays, and the Seattle Mariners. Right now, the New York Yankees have the best record in all of baseball at 66-31. Houston has a record of 64-33. And as I said, the Twins are 52-44. Over in the National League, the Los Angeles Dodgers, who hosted the 2022 MLB All-Star Game, they're 64-31. The Mets lead the National League East. They are 59-37. And the Milwaukee Brewers lead the National League Central Division with a record of 53-44. Wildcard standings look like this. Atlanta has the top spot. They are 58-40. The San Diego Padres are second, 54-44. St. Louis Cardinals are 51-46, and they are the third wildcard team. The Philadelphia Phillies are just a half game back at 50-46. San Francisco Giants are right at 500 at 48-48, and they are 2.5 games back. So there you go. That's your quick little Major League Baseball stuff. And that was a whole conversation about schedules and whatnot. So, spent about half an hour on that approximately, but we're not done here. The show continues on. I will put timestamps probably to tell you when the different segments are happening. So if you just want to watch the schedule analysis, I'll give you the timestamp for that. If you want to watch the upcoming segment where I talk all out and how I would book the final match between Chris Jericho and Eddie Kingston, I will put the timestamp in for that. And if you just want to watch the final part where I talk about what I think the Pittsburgh Penguins and Columbus Blue Jackets should do on an annual basis, or more specifically the Columbus Blue Jackets, and what they should do on an annual basis, I'll put a timestamp in for that. So, let's get to part 2 of this, which is booking Eddie Kingston versus Chris Jericho round 3 at the All Out pay-per-view at the Now Arena in Chicago. I believe that pay-per-view is happening on September 4th, which I have no idea how AEW is going to top last year's All Out pay-per-view when Ruby Soho debuted, Adam Cole debuted, Bryan Danielson debuted. You had that unbelievable steel cage match between the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks where I believe it was Matt Jackson. I get the two Jackson brothers confused. Nick and Matt Jackson look ridiculously alike, so forgive me if I screw this up. But I believe it was Matt Jackson. Brandon Cutler at one point tosses a bag to Matt Jackson over the top of the steel cage, which the steel cage is supposed to prevent that, but whatever. In said bag, there was a shoe, but not just any shoe. No, this shoe had thumbtacks on the bottom. And Matt Jackson put on this shoe and gave a super kick to Penta. And he just started bleeding his own blood. Then again, I don't know who else's blood he would be bleeding, but that's beside the point. So it was ridiculous. And the Chris Jericho MJF match with a dusty finish, masterpiece. By the way, I hope with all these changes that WWE is making, most notably Vince McMahon retiring and Monday Night Raw supposedly going to TV 14, Triple H taking over creative, I hope this doesn't mean MJF is leaving All Elite Wrestling to go over to World Wrestling Entertainment. As an AEW fan, I don't want MJF to leave. He's so good on the microphone. He's so good at getting you to hate him. And I love him as a wrestler. I thought his match with Jericho at the All Out pay-per-view from last year was fantastic. And if he were to ever become AEW champion, it would just be absolutely fantastic to watch. He would be such a cocky bitch and cocky asshole. It would just be fantastic to watch. Because every challenger that he has, you know he would dig up some type of morbid event that happened to that person. Like when he was in his feud with Darby Allin, I believe he referenced Darby's uncle getting killed in a car crash. We know everything that would happen with CM Punk during their feud. Which, I'll get to Jericho Kingston in a minute, trust me. But I don't like that CM Punk is world champion. I didn't like it when he won it in the first place at Double or Nothing. I didn't even like that he was the one challenging Hangman at Double or Nothing. How I would have booked it is after the dog collar match at Revolution, I wouldn't have done the Wardlow spot. Not yet. I still would have had Punk win that, but without the Wardlow stuff. Anyway, so here's the thing. You could say, okay, MJF lost the dog collar match, but you could spin that and say, okay, but that match had stipulations on it. So you could still validate MJF getting a title shot. So I would have given MJF the title shot at Double or Nothing, given him the title, let him have a few feuds, such as have him feud with a returning Kenny Omega, for example. Have him do another feud with Darby Allin, because their feud leading up to Full Gear was fantastic. Unfortunately, I did not watch Full Gear, because I just don't watch every AEW pay-per-view. For example, I did not watch Forbidden Door. From what I've heard, I wish I had, but I just don't follow New Japan enough to where I would know the New Japan wrestlers. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't really want to watch because I wouldn't know who Kazuchika Okada is. Sorry, I just don't follow New Japan. But I started to get to know New Japan through the build-up to Forbidden Door, but I just didn't watch it. Sorry. I do know Claudio Castagnoli debuted, the former Cesaro, which I don't know why WWE just suddenly cut off his push after his WrestleMania match against Seth Rollins. After that, WWE just seemed to destroy his run, which was ridiculous. Anyway, so getting back to my original point with this is just becoming an AEW segment, so that's what I'll call it when I do the timestamps and stuff. But anyway, so Jericho and Eddie Kingston are tied 1-1 because Kingston defeated Jericho in a singles match at Revolution. That's what kind of started this whole Jericho Appreciation Society against Blackpool Combat Club. And then Jericho got even with Eddie Kingston when he beat Eddie at the Barbed Wire Everywhere match just last week on Dynamite, which I've heard mixed reviews about that match. It was okay, but I thought there was way too many shenanigans. Like, as soon as I saw that Ruby Soho was in control of the shark cage, I'm like, okay, Ty Conti's going to come out, beat her up, and the JAS is going to get involved. Now, I did not expect Anna Jay to turn heel and join in, but whatever. And as soon as I saw that Sammy Guevara was not in the shark cage, I'm like, yep, that's how Jericho's going to win. And that's exactly what happened. So that leads me to my idea for a match, for their for their final match, I should say, at All Out. Okay? Steel cage match. Jericho versus Kingston. But here's the catch. If there is any kind of interference, any kind, from either side, from the Jericho Appreciation Society, Ty Conti, Anna Jay, Sammy Guevara, then Eddie Kingston wins. Okay? If anybody from the Black Cool Combat Club, Wheeler Yuta, Bryan Danielson, Santana, Ortiz, Claudio Castagnoli, Jon Moxley, anyone, if there is any type of interference from the BCC or anybody associated with Eddie Kingston, so that includes Ruby Soho, then Chris Jericho wins. So it's a steel cage match where if there's, with the stipulation that any type of interference, the other person wins. What do you think of that? Would you like that? It's kind of hard to predict what the All Out pay-per-view match card is going to be right now. One match we know we can basically pencil in that we're getting is Jungle Boy against Christian Cage. We know for sure, 100%, that we are getting that match at All Out. I can basically guarantee it. They are going to carry this feud on through the remaining week of July and through all of August. Including August 24th in Cleveland, which someone may or may not be at. You'll have to wait and see. And keep tuning in. But someone may or may not be going to that show. Well, we'll see. I don't know for sure. Haven't bought tickets. But, anyway. So, it's kind of, the storylines are interesting. I think at All Out, if I had to guess, the AEW Women's Championship match is going to be Thunder Rosa against Chris Statlander. If that is indeed the case, I would like to see Statlander win the championship, because I'll give Thunder Rosa a chance as AEW Women's Champion. But up to this point, I haven't liked it. She just doesn't have that same spunk, that same energy that I'm like, oh, yes, this is great. Like Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, I loved her as AEW Women's Champion. She has the mic skills. Like the last time AEW was in Cleveland at Beach Break, it looked like the Pittsburgh Steelers had just thrown up on her. And she was shitting all over Cleveland. Because, Pittsburgh and Cleveland, Browns, Steelers, the two sides don't like each other at all. I'll come back to Pittsburgh and Cleveland later when I talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets. So stay tuned. Yeah, the last time AEW was in Cleveland was for Beach Break. Yeah, so the last time AEW was in Cleveland was for Beach Break. I kind of wish I had gone to that show, but I didn't for a couple of reasons. I'm not going to get into those reasons, though, because that's not what's important. What's important is that AEW is coming back to Cleveland on August 24th, which is just 2 weeks before the All Out pay-per-view. So, hopefully, whether I go to that show or not, you'll have to wait and see. We will get some matches confirmed at that show. So, I think we will be getting Thunder Rosa versus Chris Statlander. My guess is they're going to try and drag out this Athena Jade Cargill storyline all the way to that pay-per-view, so I think that's where we get that match. I think CM Punk will be back, and we get that title unification bout, where I think CM Punk is going to retain, even though I don't want him to. I want Moxley to be the full champion, but I think CM Punk retains and becomes the full AEW champion. And then afterwards, MJF makes his grand return, and we get back to that storyline. And MJF becomes champion at whatever the next pay-per-view is. I think it's Full Gear in November. Yes, it goes. The pay-per-views go Revolution, then it's All Out, although Forbidden Door might become a permanent thing. So Revolution, Forbidden Door, All Out. Oh, wait. No, I'm sorry. Sorry. Revolution, Double or Nothing, Forbidden Door, All Out, and Full Gear. Those are the 5 pay-per-views for AEW. Revolution, Double or Nothing, Forbidden Door, All Out, and Full Gear. So, speaking of Full Gear, that's where Hangman Adam Page became AEW World Champion by taking the belt off of Kenny Omega. We have not seen Kenny Omega since then, because he's had multiple injuries and multiple surgeries, whatnot. I think he's going to be back at All Out, and I don't think it's just going to be like he comes out at the end of a match to start a new feud or something. No, I think he's coming back, and we're going to have a trios match. On one side, it's going to be Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks against Adam Cole and Red Dragon. The winner of that match becomes the inaugural trios champions. I think, actually, I'm going to take it a step further. At the All Out pay-per-view, I think we get 2 new championships debuting. I think we get the Women's Tag Team Championships, and I think we get the Trios Championships. Clearly, or at least the way AEW is going about it, it looks like they are setting up for Women's Tag Team Championships, because now you have Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter working together. Although at one point it looked like they were doing a storyline where Jamie Hayter was going to turn on Britt, but they seemingly dropped that storyline. Then you have Thunderstorm, Tony Storm, and the AEW Women's Champion Thunder Rosa. They're working together. And then you have Marina Shafir and Nyla Rose. I think you're going to see more women's tag teams. So, I think we are on the verge of women's tag team championships. And then with the trios championships, that's easy. You've got the House of Black, you've got Death Triangle. Although right now Death Triangle isn't complete because you have Pac with the All Atlantic Championship, and he has to defend that belt on various other wrestling promotions. So, I guess you can remove that one. But you have Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. Once Kenny Omega gets back, you have Adam Cole and Red Dragon. Although right now all 3, I believe, are off TV because of injuries. Jeez, everybody's injured. And I'm sure I'm missing some. But I'm very intrigued by this Miro House of Black storyline. Last week, at the end of the match between Brody King and Darby Allin, which I would have saved that match for the pay-per-view, but whatever, Miro came out and he was wearing sunglasses. Was that to protect one of those black marks, like what Malachi Black has on his face? Like, is Miro joining the House of Black? Is Miro going against the House of Black? Because it looks like we're doing something with Darby Allin, Sting, and the House of Black. I think we're clearly doing that feud. But where does Miro fit in with all of this? So, AEW is very intriguing to me right now. Sorry, I thought I had to sneeze. But, yeah, that's going to do it for the AEW segment of this show. So now let's get into the Columbus Blue Jackets Pittsburgh Penguins, and Cleveland. So, Cleveland most likely is not going to be getting an NHL team anytime soon. Cleveland's kind of in a black hole when it comes to the NHL. You got the Columbus Blue Jackets 2 hours to the south of us. You've got the Pittsburgh Penguins 2 hours east. You have the Buffalo Sabres 2 hours northeast of us. You have the I almost called them the Detroit Michigans. No, I'm sorry. The Detroit Red Wings 2 hours north of us. And you have the Chicago Blackhawks 6 hours west of us. Hold on 1 second. How many hours is Nashville from Cleveland?
It looks like Cleveland is about 11 miles away by car.
How far away is Bridgestone Arena from here?
It looks like Bridgestone Arena is about 517 miles away by car.
So according to Siri, Nashville is about 7 hours south. So that's not too bad. Okay. So, as you can tell, Cleveland is surrounded on all sides by NHL teams. So, most likely Cleveland isn't getting an NHL team anytime soon. There's also the fact that Cleveland has these guys, the Cleveland Monsters. I know on this box it says the Lake Erie Monsters. They changed their name to the Cleveland Monsters before the start of the 2017 season. And actually, up until the 2018-2019 season, the Monsters were in the Western Conference. But anyway, once the Monsters made the jump to the Eastern Conference, they started playing a bunch of new teams, such as the Toronto Marlies, affiliate of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Belleville Senators, affiliate of the Ottawa Senators. Charlotte Checkers, affiliate of the Florida Panthers. Let's see, who else? Hershey Bears, affiliate of the Washington Capitals. And actually, the Hershey Bears are the team the Monsters swept in the Calder Cup Finals in 2016 to win the championship and bring home the second championship for Cleveland. Stipe Miocic brought home the first championship for the city of Cleveland. Or you could say he brought home the first individual championship, however you want to say it. In my opinion, Stipe brought home the first championship overall, because I get it, Stipe is the only one fighting in the octagon, but think about it. He has his Muay Thai coach, his Jiu-Jitsu coach, he has his striking coach. I'm sure he has a coach for his ground game and submission work. So, there's a lot of... Stipe has a whole team. So it's not like... So I get it. He's the one fighting in the octagon, but it's not an individual sport. Does that make sense? Great. The Monsters brought home the second championship, or you could say they brought home the first minor league championship, which, by the way, the Monsters went 15-2 in that championship run. They only lost 2 games against the Grand Rapids Griffins in the second round. The Griffins are the affiliate of the Detroit Red Wings. And then the Cavaliers, as we know, there you go, right there. They came back, or I should say, instead of we came back from a 3-1 deficit to defeat the Golden State Warriors in the 2016 NBA Finals. The Chicago Cubs would return the favor on the then Cleveland Indians by coming back from a 3-1 deficit to break their 108-year curse. Go, Cubs, go! I've been a diehard Cubs fan since I was a little kid. So, yeah. Anyway, so since Cleveland has the Monsters and there's a bunch of NHL teams surrounding Cleveland, we're not getting an NHL team anytime soon. But how about this? The Columbus Blue Jackets, right there. They're, like I said, they're only 2 hours away. The Pittsburgh Penguins, they're only 2 hours away. I'm sure, I can guarantee you, there might not be a lot of fans for either team. I'm a Pittsburgh Penguins fan. But, so, I'm sure there are other hockey fans besides just me here in Cleveland. I bet you that if Cleveland hosted a neutral site game between the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Pittsburgh Penguins, fans would show up for that game. I think the NHL should make an annual matchup, or here's how it should work. Columbus should play a game every season at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Call it the Cleveland Classic. Every year, Columbus should play a game against one of the other 31 teams in the NHL at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. The first year should be against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Make the second year be against the Boston Bruins. Make the third year be against the New York Rangers. Fourth year against the Philadelphia Flyers. Fifth year be against the Washington Capitals. Sixth year, have it be against the Minnesota Wild. Seventh year, have it be against the Detroit Red Wings. I don't care. But I think it should be an annual thing. Call it the Cleveland Classic, where the Columbus Blue Jackets play a regular season game at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. It's not like this would be out of the realm of possibilities for the NHL. The NHL loves doing neutral site games. Think about it. They're doing the Winter Classic at Fenway Park. Pittsburgh Penguins against the Boston Bruins. They're doing the Stadium Series at Carter Finley Stadium in Raleigh. It's going to be the Washington Capitals against the Carolina Hurricanes. I couldn't tell you the last time the Columbus Blue Jackets were featured on one of those games, if ever. Actually, I don't think they have. So why not give Columbus some type of neutral site game? And along with that, you're bringing hockey and the NHL to a whole new fan base. I guarantee you, there are NHL fans here in Cleveland. Let me put this to you. Let's say there are Boston Bruins and New York Rangers fans living in Cleveland. Since the Cleveland Monsters don't play every AHL team in the league, which I think that should change, the Monsters should play everybody in the American Hockey League and knock it off with these back-to-back games against the same team. Like, I don't want to see Charlotte 2 games in a row. Like, if you have the Monsters play Charlotte on Friday, November 13th, don't have them play again till December 1st. Something like that. The Monsters, I've been going to a fan of theirs for as long as I can remember. I've never seen them play the Springfield Thunderbirds, affiliate of the St. Louis Blues. I've never seen them play the Tucson Roadrunners, affiliate of the Arizona Coyotes, who I think are going to be moving to Houston in the near future, but we'll see. I've never seen them play the San Jose Barracuda, affiliate of the San Jose Sharks. I've never seen them play the Colorado Eagles, affiliate of the Colorado Avalanche. I've never seen them play the Abbotsford Canucks, affiliate of the Vancouver Canucks, although the Abbotsford Canucks are just starting this season, so there's a valid reason for that. But my point still stands. Anyway, getting back to my main thing. Let's say there are New York Rangers fans and Boston Bruins fans here in Cleveland. Because the Monsters don't play every team in the AHL, the Rangers fan and Bruins fan doesn't get to see their minor league team where they could have a really good player that could get called up to the NHL club, in this case the Bruins or Rangers, at any minute. And in terms of the NHL, the Bruins fan, or let's change it up, the Philadelphia Flyers fan and Detroit Red Wings fan, they don't get to see the Red Wings or Flyers come to Cleveland because Cleveland doesn't have an NHL team. So again, why not do this? Do the Cleveland Classic. Have the first year be the Pittsburgh Penguins against the Columbus Blue Jackets. But then the second year, Columbus Blue Jackets against Boston Bruins. Third year, Columbus Blue Jackets, New York Rangers. Fourth year, Columbus Blue Jackets against the Minnesota Wild. However, whatever order you want, I don't care. But I think that would be something fantastic. Cleveland has the stigma of being only a football town. It's not. It is a sports town. Once Cleveland figured out, the Cavaliers are actually a good team and they're in position to try and make the playoffs, fans started coming out. And I was at a lot of those games last season. And the place was pretty full as the season progressed. The interesting thing, though, when I go to Guardians games, is usually the lower bowl is full, but then they have this, third row in the section in, the 500s. There's, nobody in those seats ever. Even on weekends. Okay, weekends are a little bit different because that 500 section is actually a little bit more filled. But in general, that third group of seats, it's basically never filled. So, does that detract from my statement a little bit? Yes, but I had to acknowledge it. Okay, so that's enough about that. So let's get to some UFC stuff. I guess getting back into combat sports. And again, I'll put timestamps on this. At least I think so. We'll see. Anyway, first of all, hope you enjoyed the Cleveland SC video that I posted. Seems like a lot of you have. Again, if you're watching this but you haven't subscribed to the Unger to the Max YouTube channel yet, what are you doing? Punch that subscribe button like a UFC player. I want to get to 500 subscribers before NFL season starts on September 8th. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Right now, I am at 457 subscribers as I'm recording this. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell everyone you know. Subscribe to Unger to the Max right now. Go! Subscribe. You can come back to this video later. Anyway, so getting back to the UFC, as we have now officially hit the 1 hour mark. I guess this video was going to go in a few playlists. It's for sure going in schedule analysis. It is for sure going in Pittsburgh Penguins vlogs, Cleveland Monsters thoughts and analysis, Josh's sports tangents, talking UFC and wrestling, and I'm sure I'll find other playlists to put it in. So you'll have plenty of places to watch today's video. Getting to UFC. So we have UFC 277 coming up this weekend. It is Juliana Pena against Amanda Nunes in a rematch for the Bantamweight Championship. Except this time, Amanda Nunes is not the champion. Juliana Pena is champion. Pena took the belt from Nunes at UFC 269, which was headlined by Charles Oliveira against Dustin Poirier for the lightweight championship. Oliveira would go on to retain that belt. Oliveira would then go on to fight Justin Gaethje, where, he missed weight by a little bit. He was stripped of the belt, and he would still go on to win anyway. At UFC 280, Oliveira gets a chance to take back his belt, which, again, he never should have lost, against Islam Makhachev. Actually, I can tell you, I'll get back to UFC 277 in a minute. But we know the main events for 277, 278, 279, and 280. The main event for UFC 277, as I said, it's Juliana Pena against Amanda Nunes for the UFC Bantamweight Championship. UFC 278, Kamaru Usman, the current welterweight champion and the number one pound-for-pound fighter, takes on Leon Edwards in a rematch. UFC 279 is Khamzat Chimaev against Nate Diaz. UFC 280 is Charles Oliveira against Islam Makhachev for the vacant lightweight belt. And I'm just going to look. I don't think UFC 281 has been announced yet. Let me see. No, they have not announced a main event for UFC 281. But that pay-per-view will be at Madison Square Garden. Shout out again to my guy, Gangrene David. Maybe I'll figure out a way to come with my buddy C-Boss. Excuse me. To Madison Square Garden to go to that show with you. Or event. Show. Whatever you want to call it. I'm still waiting for the day the UFC and I'm still waiting for the day UFC comes back to Cleveland. Most likely, it will never come back to Cleveland, but a man can dream, right? Man, I wish I was in a position where I could be at a press conference for the UFC, and I could say, hey, Dana White, you brought the Octagon to Cleveland for UFC 203 when Stipe defended his belt against Alistair Overeem. Since then, the Octagon hasn't been back to Cleveland. Why not, and will it ever come to Cleveland again? I'd love to be able to ask Dana White that. So, hopefully I get that opportunity at some point. I would love to be able to do that. I'd love to be able to just attend a UFC press conference in general. I think it would be so much fun. I especially would have loved it if I could have gone to either the UFC 245 press conference between Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington, or the UFC 268 press conference when it was Usman and Covington again. So, I don't know what the main event for UFC 281 is going to be, but it's got to be something big. Maybe it's going to be headlined by John Jones against Stipe Miocic. But my guess is they would rather save that for Vegas. So, I really don't know. I don't think they'll put Israel Adesanya in Madison Square Garden. Dana White and a lot of people have said his last few fights have been pretty boring, so I don't think they would do that. I wish the Bantamweight Championship fight between Aljamain Sterling and TJ Dillashaw would headline that card. I think that would be an excellent fight to headline Madison Square Garden. But I think instead, that Bantamweight Championship fight is going to be the co-main event for UFC 280 in Abu Dhabi at Etihad Arena. So, yeah. Let's see. You got Brandon Moreno against Kai Kara France for the interim flyweight belt happening at UFC 277. I don't think the flyweights would headline a MSG card anyway. Usman's defending his belt at UFC 278, so I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, I don't really know what fight is going to headline UFC 281. I'm kind of stumped on this one. I can't see Carla Esparza against Zhang Wei Li headlining UFC 281. That doesn't seem like it has enough of a draw and enough of a attention grabber to headline a card in Madison Square Garden. Valentina Shevchenko, I don't think she has a matchup where it's like, oh, that needs to headline Madison Square Garden. And Francis Ngannou simply refuses to defend the heavyweight championship, so I don't think you'll see him defending his belt at Madison Square Garden. So I really am stumped. Maybe you see Conor McGregor headline UFC 281. Who could I see McGregor fighting at UFC 281? I really don't know. Maybe at UFC 281 you have Colby Covington against Dustin Poirier headline that card for a welterweight fight. I would take that. I think that main event would be good enough to headline Madison Square Garden. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on UFC 281. But getting back to this weekend's fight, UFC 277. The card's alright. I'll tell you the full pay-per-view card. So, the main event is Juliana Pena against Amanda Nunes for the bantamweight title. Nunes is currently a minus 280 favorite. Pena is plus 230. The co-main event is for the interim flyweight title, because I don't know what's up with Davis and Figueiredo, but anyway. Brandon Moreno is a minus 210 favorite against Kai Kara France, who comes in at plus 176. You have Derek Lewis against Sergey Pavlovich in a heavyweight fight. You have Alexander Pantoja, I'm sorry if I butchered that last name, against Alex Perez in a flyweight bout. And you have Anthony Lionheart-Smith against Magomed Ankalaev at light heavyweight. Yeah. Oh yeah, you have Yuri Prochazka, but I don't think Yuri Prochazka has enough star power to headline UFC 281. So yeah. But anyway, yeah, this pay-per-view just doesn't do anything for me. I'm thinking about going to the movie theater to watch it on Saturday, but I don't know. It just doesn't have that grab to it where I'm like, oh, I definitely gotta watch this. I'm actually thinking about watching WWE SummerSlam, which is actually happening that same night. Although, unlike at UFC 276, where that and Money in the Bank were happening at the same time in the same city, because Money in the Bank was happening at MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, and UFC 276 was happening at T-Mobile Arena, home to the NHL's Vegas Golden Knights. Originally, Money in the Bank was going to be happening at Allegiant Stadium, home to the Las Vegas Raiders, but that changed and it got moved to MGM. That's where Liv Morgan cashed in on Ronda Rousey to become SmackDown Women's Champion. We're getting that match on Saturday. A proper match between Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey for the SmackDown Women's Championship. We're also getting Bianca Belair against Becky Lynch for the Raw Women's Championship, because WWE basically has nobody else in their women's division. We're getting Seth freaking Rollins against Riddle in a non-title match. We're getting Pat McAfee against Happy Corbin. We're getting Logan Paul against Cleveland's own The Miz. We're getting Bobby Lashley against the youngest Money in the Bank holder, Austin Theory. Oh, I'm sorry, he actually is known as Theory. We're getting Brock Lesnar against Roman Reigns. Again, snooze in a last man standing match for the undisputed WWE Universal Heavyweight Championship. We're getting the Street Profits against the Usos for the Undisputed Tag Team Championships. Am I missing anything? Oh yeah, we're getting the Judgment Day, Finn Balor, and Damian Priest against the Mysterios, Dominic and Rey, in a no DQ tag team match. I thought maybe we were going to get an Intercontinental Championship match between Gunther and Shinsuke Nakamura added to that card. There's still a chance we will. On SmackDown, we'll see. It seemed like we were going to get Drew McIntyre against Sheamus at SummerSlam, but no, they're doing some good old-fashioned Irish something match. Basically, it's a no DQ, no countout match to see who's going to challenge for the Undisputed Championship at Clash of the Castle. Monday Night Raw is actually coming to Cleveland on Monday, August 8th. However, I'm not going to be at that show. I just don't really have an interest in going to that show. I've been to a few WWE shows here in Cleveland, and I'm just like, meh, I don't really want to go. So, whatever. Okay, so I went back into a little bit of wrestling. Can't help myself. This is YouTube. This is the Sports Room. This is SportsRoom Talk. It happens sometimes. I'm just talking right now. But we are at the 1 hour, 15 minute mark approximately. And guess what? We're not slowing down. But again, make sure if you haven't done so, punch that subscribe button like a UFC fighter. Let's get to 500 subscribers before the start of the NFL season. Let's do it. Speaking of the NFL, there are so many intriguing matchups throughout the season. I cannot wait. Let me start with week 1. No, forget. I'm going to go through all 17 weeks. So you have Bills-Rams kicking off this season in what could be a Super Bowl 57 preview. Love that matchup. You have Steelers-Bengals. Steelers are going to be taking the field without Ben Roethlisberger, so Mitch Trubisky's going to be at the controls. What are the Steelers going to look like? The Bengals, they went to the Super Bowl last year. Was that a flash in the pan, or are they here to stay? Patriots against the Dolphins. Patriots went to the playoffs last season, but they lost Josh McDaniels. He's now the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. What are they going to look like? The Miami Dolphins, they went out, signed Teron Armstead, traded for Tyreek Hill. Tua Tagovailoa, you have no more excuses. None. Zero. Zilch. None. If you screw this up, you're done in Miami. Browns-Panthers. Browns traded for Deshaun Watson, got rid of Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield got traded to Carolina. We know, I shouldn't say we know, but most likely we're not going to see Deshaun Watson in that game because he is most likely going to be suspended. Although training camp is opening and we haven't heard anything, so who the fuck knows. But we'll see if it's Baker Mayfield on the other side. Raiders-Chargers. We know how that game ended last year. Again, I referenced it at the beginning of the show. Raiders were playing for the tie, and Brandon Staley fucked it up. And the Raiders and Steelers ended up getting in the playoffs, and the Chargers did not. Chargers, you have to make some type of impact this season. Otherwise, you're going to get left behind. Ravens-Jets, we got all of these questions about Lamar Jackson. Is he going to get his money? How long is the contract going to be? Stuff like that. And then for Monday Night Football, we've got Broncos-Seahawks. Russell Wilson makes his return to Seattle. Week 2, Chargers-Chiefs. Those are projected to be the top 2 teams in the AFC West. Jets-Browns. Browns season opener. Home opener. So, should be an exciting atmosphere. Dolphins-Ravens. two playoff contenders. Who's going to step up? Bengals Cowboys. Should be a fantastic matchup. Patriots Steelers. Always seems to be a fun matchup when the Patriots and Steelers match up. Bears Packers. Not interested. Why is that game on Sunday Night Football? I don't get it. And then you got a doubleheader from Monday Night Football. Titans Bills, Vikings Eagles. Eagles, I think, are going to win the NFC East. I don't think the Cowboys... I don't know if the Cowboys are even going to finish second in their division. I could see the Washington Commanders finishing second. Week 3, you got Steelers-Browns. It's Browns-Steelers. It's a big-time rivalry. Yeah. Let's see. Chiefs-Colts. What are the Colts going to look like with Matt Ryan? Let's see. What other matchups do we got that are interesting? Raiders-Titans. Two playoff contenders. Titans were the number 1 seed last year. Eagles-Commanders. Carson Wentz goes up against his former team for the first time in the division. Packers-Buccaneers. You got Aaron Rodgers against Tom Brady. Oh, that's the Monday Night Football matchup? Blah. It's Cowboys-Giants. No thanks, I'll pass. Ooh, week 3 we get Ravens-Patriots. I like that matchup. What's the Sunday night matchup in week 3? What's the Sunday night matchup? Sunday night. 49ers Broncos for Sunday Night Football in week 3. That's a pretty good matchup. Alright, week 4. Dolphins Bengals on Thursday Night Football. I like it. But NFL, get rid of Thursday Night Football. It is stupid. Let's see. We got Browns Falcons. So Sports Live in the ATL. We'll be doing video collaboration for that game. Let's see. What other? Titans Colts. Pretty good matchup. Bills Ravens. I think that matchup should have been the nightcapper for Thanksgiving instead of Patriots Vikings. Whatever. You got Patriots Packers. Pretty good matchup. Ooh, Broncos Raiders. I like that matchup. Week 4, we get a rematch of Super Bowl 55. Chiefs Buccaneers. I like that matchup. And then for Monday Night Football, we get Rams 49ers. Week 5. Let's see. We get Colts Broncos on Thursday Night Football. Decent. Chargers Browns. Pretty good. Bengals Ravens on Sunday Night Football. Yes, please, and thank you. I will take that. Steelers Bills. Pretty good matchup. Let's see. Cowboys Rams. Hopefully the Rams destroy the Cowboys because I hate the Cowboys. Although I don't really like the Rams either because Stan Kroenke, I just don't like him. He deliberately made the Rams as terrible as possible so that it would look like St. Louis wouldn't give a shit. Or, I'm sorry, so that it looked like St. Louis didn't give a shit about the Rams. And Kroenke could be like, see, they don't care. And now I'm going to move them to Los Angeles. It's basically the same thing as what the Oakland Athletics are doing. They're deliberately making their team look as bad as possible so that when they move to Las Vegas, oh, it's not a big deal. Nobody in Oakland cared. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of the SportsRoom Talk. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Unger to the Max, and I will see you on the next episode.